Hi everyone, welcome to part 2, our bonus video of what we made in the last video. If you missed that video, go ahead and click on that to check that out. It was our vanilla wafers from scratch. And today I wanted to show you just a quick dessert idea. And this is going to be basically less than 20 minutes. You can have dessert on your table as long as you've made the vanilla wafers before, or you can use boxed vanilla wafers, that's fine also. But we're going to make a banana pudding from scratch in our microwave here. So it's going to be a pretty quick process, and I'm going to show you how we do that, and let's get started. Okay, so I started out milling about 15 grams of soft white wheat flour, and you could use regular flour here if you wanted to. It ended up being about 1/8 of a cup or so. This recipe is for an 8x8, so you can double this recipe if you want to make it in a 9x13. And I used 3/4 cup of sugar and gave that just a little mix. And to that I added 2 cups of whole milk. And to give it a little vanilla flavor, I went ahead and used some vanilla extract, just kind of a dash of this. I love to make my own homemade vanilla. That's what you're seeing floating in here is just vanilla beans inside of vodka. I do have a video on that. If you want to take a look, I'll put a link here. And then we're going to take 2 eggs, and we want to take just the yolks out. So we're going to separate these. I'm just going to do it in this little bowl here and just get the white part out. And you could use this for another recipe. You could save it. You could use it as an egg wash to the top of one of your pastries that you're baking. You could bake it into an omelet, feed it to your dogs, feed it to your chickens, whatever you want to do with it. And then I'm going to do the same with the second yolk. I just want the yolk part for this. So it's going to be sort of like a custardy pudding, I guess. And to make this a banana pudding, we're going to be adding fresh bananas to it. We're not adding any banana extract or banana flavoring or anything into the pudding, but I think you'll see when we pour the warm pudding over top of the banana, it really pulls out that banana flavor, and it goes all throughout all of the pudding. So I'm just going to give this a little mix before I put it in the microwave. And this happens fairly quickly. We're going to put it in the microwave for about 3 minutes, and then we need to stir it a little bit, and then we'll put it in for 3 more minutes and then stir it. We'll do that probably 3 to 4 times until we reach about 180 degrees Fahrenheit, and it'll start to look nice and thickened. So here we're putting it in the microwave for the first time, and I'm putting it in for 3 minutes. And here it is after the 3 minutes. It still looks very thin. It's maybe thickened a little bit, but not a whole lot. And we're going to make sure that we stir this. I want to make sure it gets stirred around, make sure I get all the sugar incorporated in the flour. That way there's nothing dry stuck to the bottom or anything like that. And it's going to go back in the microwave for 3 more minutes. And I have just a little confession. This is actually the second time I made this recipe. The first time I made it, I'll show you here, it was in just a small little container, and it tends to bubble up in the microwave. So make sure you're using a container that is much larger than the volume, probably double if not triple the size. Otherwise, you'll end up with a little mess in your microwave the same way I ended up with a mess in my microwave. So I ended up having to make the whole recipe all over again in a larger container. Guys, use a bigger container than what I did. As you can see, it all came out everywhere. So this is now coming out of the microwave for the second time, and showing you here it does rise up just a little bit in the bowl, but then when it goes in the next time, it rises up even more, which is what I was talking about earlier. So I'm just going to give this a little mix. You can see it is starting to thicken here, so we're almost there. But I just want to stir it around every time because in the microwave, of course, you know, things don't cook evenly all the time. So we want to make sure that we give that a stir in between intervals. Otherwise, we'll have a thick skin on the top and then raw on the bottom, and obviously we don't want that. So we're going to go ahead and pop it back in the microwave for another 3 minutes. And if you double this recipe, it's going to end up being the same method. I don't know why it works. It just does. You do the 3 minutes, stir it, 3 minutes, stir it, and you do that 3 to 4 times until you get that thick custardy consistency and you reach at least 180 degrees Fahrenheit. You don't want to go too much hotter than that because then you can start to curdle your eggs, but you can see it's coming out. I'm stirring it. It's thicker. It's steaming up our camera just a little bit. And we're going to put it back in the microwave again for 3 more minutes. And if you feel like it's almost done at this time, of course, you can shorten that last microwave time. But you can see it actually even almost came out the top of this one. Of this bowl, you can see around the edges. So we're stirring it with a spoon now. You can see it's bubbling in here. This is the texture that we're looking for. This is nice and thickening, velvety smooth, and obviously as it cools, it will thicken even more. This dessert is quick and easy, and it can be served warm or cold. So part of my family members preferred it hot, poured on the bananas and the vanilla wafers, just eat it right then and there. Other family members preferred it to be cold. I actually kind of liked it both ways. And you also could, of course, top this with your favorite whipped topping if you want to make some whipped cream or anything like that. I didn't have any heavy whipping cream or whipped cream on hand, so we just ate it just like this, and it was delicious just how it was. And you can see I'm just taking a little temperature here to make sure that the eggs are cooked and everything's good to go. It's reading about 190 degrees, so we're great there. Ready to move on to the next step. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and just set this to the side. It can cool a little bit, that's fine, while I get my cutting board out so I can get my fresh bananas. So I ended up using 3 bananas here. You can use as many or as little bananas as you want. I didn't want them to be too brown at this stage because I'd rather just use that for banana bread or banana muffins or something like that. But I wanted nice, fresh yellow bananas here. And I'm just going to slice them up with my little butter knife here into little slices. And yes, my dogs were begging a little bit for pieces of banana, so they did get some of the slices. I can't resist. And I'm going to grab the vanilla wafers that we made earlier in my previous video. And as you can see, I'm going to put the ones, if you watched my video, you saw we were doing a little bit of a test kitchen, so we had some that looked better than others. So I'm using the ones that were a little lumpier and didn't look as pretty for the bottom. And I'm just going to distribute these on the bottom. You can just toss them in there and top them with the pudding if you want to. You can kind of just be creative and do this however you want. But I went ahead and just made it so it was an even layer on the bottom so that when I put the pudding on top and the bananas on top, it was ready to go. I had a few extra cookies, which is never a bad thing. And then I topped the cookies with just a little bit of the sliced bananas. I really think if I doubled the recipe, it probably would have fit in this container just fine. So next time I may go ahead and just double that for this size container as well. And then I'm just going to use this fresh hot pudding and pour it all over the top of the bananas and the vanilla wafers. And the flavor of the bananas just comes through so wonderfully. I had no idea that the fresh bananas would make the pudding taste so banana-y. You could, of course, make this pudding over the stovetop if you prefer to do it that method. It's pretty much the same method. You just want to cook it till it's thickened and make sure you're stirring it constantly because you don't want it to scald or stick to the bottom. But you can see here it's already started to thicken even a little more just sitting on the counter for a little bit. And I love how it just kind of goes down into all those nooks and crannies. Then I'm just going to top it with some more fresh bananas that I saved, and then I'm going to use the prettier vanilla wafers on top. I'm glad I was able to find this recipe because it's kind of hard sometimes to come up with desserts or find quick recipes that come together so fast. And this one is super easy. I'm sure we will be playing with it with different flavors, different fruits, different options in the future because this was so quick. Sometimes with fresh milled flour, things can take a little bit longer when you're making something, and I don't always start something in time or don't have enough time to start something 3 or 4 hours beforehand. So as you can see, they snap nicely, and I'm just going to crumble this up and just sprinkle it all over the top just to have some little crumble bits, I guess, all throughout. And this sure was a hit. Thanks for hanging out with me today as we made this banana pudding in the microwave. It's a really quick, simple, and easy dessert that you can have whipped up in no time. Check out my blog at grainsandsmallplaces.net. I'll put a link in the description box below. You can find this recipe, the recipe for the vanilla wafers, and if you haven't checked out my vanilla wafer video yet, I'll try to put a link here somewhere so that you can go check that one out too in case you want to make this completely from scratch. Thanks for stopping by Grains in Small Places. Goodbye.